Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulamilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Anupeta Apeta Krityam Drapaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Maitaya Tadavo Benedus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridayam Munimanatusmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptashta Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Mai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Vende Namaste Charanada Vindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvayavina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpataruvesta Kripa Sindhu Vya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So we begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalila Bhavishta, Om Vishnupada Tarsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalila Bhavishta, Om Vishnupada Tarsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, unto our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga, and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Okay, so today we are going to go back to what we had started sometime before, reading from this Sri Hari-nama Mahamantra book, which has so much philosophical information about Sri Hari-nam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes from Chaitanya Charitamrita and others about Mahaprabhu and his conceptions. We have commentaries on the Mahamantra from Jiva Goswami, Gopal Guru, Raghunath Das, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We've got the glories of Sri Hari-nam, Nam Sarup, Kali Yuga, all perfection, so many things. And then an article by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we have lots and lots to consider. But just give me 1 second here, because I have to change this camera a little bit, because it's showing the bottom of my nose. That's unsightly for my listeners, you know. Let's see, how do we do this? Oh, this might work. Put this under here. There we go. Just a little higher. There. I'm not Lord Brahma, you know, whose nostrils Varahadev came out of. Nothing comes out of my nostrils that's particularly savory. So, here we go. This is, whoops. We heard an article about the sequence of the Mahamantra. The last thing we read, which was, almost 2 weeks ago, because then we went into Radhastami, was a quote by Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. And it's about the Hare Krishna mantra. Sometimes people ask, is the Hare Krishna mantra chanted in Goloka Vrindavan, or is it naimistic? Right? We know that the Gayatri mantras are not chanted there in that way, because that's a mantra for purification and up to liberation. But the holy names that are contained in that mantra are certainly chanted. But the seed mantras and everything else are not needed. However, once Srimati Radhika was feeling overwhelming distress due to separation from her beloved Shyamasundar. and she meditated upon meeting him. To remove her fire of separation, she began to chant the Hari-nama Mahamantra. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was absorbed in the mood of Srimati Radhika, also chanted these names. Okay, and that will lead us into, into this next part. This chapter is entitled Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Mahamantra. Okay, we can hear all these interesting quotes. So let's try to stay attentive here. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who established the chanting of the Sri Hari-nama Sankirtan, instructs the bhaktas to perform Sankirtan of the Mahamantra. Sri Vasudeva Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, Vishana Chetan Kali Goda Bitan Sanviksha Godo Hari-nama Mantram Swayam Dado Bhaktajanan Samadhisat Sankirya Dadvam Nanonitya Vaidyai. Out of his causeless mercy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself gave the Mahamantra to the helpless, fearful jivas of this Kali Yuga, and directed his devotees by saying, O bhaktas, you should collectively perform Sankirtan by singing and dancing. Okay, very important evidence. This is actual history. Remember, the extraordinary thing about Mahaprabhu, he appeared within very recent memory, 550 years ago. And his contemporaries are historically verifiable personalities. His pastimes and teachings were recorded across a broad spectrum of individuals, devotees, scholars, sages. There's no doubt about any of this. And the results that they achieved and the lives that they lived, and at least external documentation of their lives, their ecstasies, all of that is there, right? Whereas so many other religious scriptures, partly because of being more ancient, but also not of the same level of teaching, there's some doubt. Is this the real teaching? When you discuss the teachings of Muhammad, so many of those things that are in the Quran that are considered the words of Muhammad are not, they can't in any way prove that they're the words of Muhammad. They were written down by some people that weren't even living when Muhammad was living. And so there's great doubt. and the same with the New Testament. The writings were written from 30, 50, even 80 years later, after Lord Jesus left this world. Now, we're not doubting the efficacy, the quality of the teachings, but how and what has been passed down. See, that's the problem, and that's what Krishna addresses in Bhagavad Gita when he tells Arjuna, that I originally instructed this to Vivaswan, who instructed his son Madhu, who instructed his son Ikshvaku, but in due course of time, the teachings were lost, right? So now I'm speaking them again to you. And they were recorded by Vedavyas in his Mahabharata. Bhagavad Gita is there. And all of the collective Vedas were put into written form, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, beginning of Kali Yuga, specifically for the protection and guidance of the living entities in this age who are not qualified previously. They would just hear it and remember it, these teachers and their students. But in the age of Kali, we don't have sufficient intelligence, memory, or qualified teachers, what to speak of students. And so this written text, these have been preserved within the disciplic successions, that the four sampradayas that have appeared in this Kali Yuga. But Mahaprabhu's teachings are particularly important because they extract the essence of all Vedic literature and the final conclusions. Now, he quotes, Hari-nama prasadena nistadat pataki jana Upadeshta Swayam Krishna Chaitanya Jagadishvara Krishna Chaitanya Devena Harinama Prakashitam Yena Kenapi Tat Praptam Danyo So Lokapavana. By the mercy of Harinam, a sinner can also be delivered, because the instructor of Sri Harinam is the Lord of the universe, Swayam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, a person who is fortunate enough to receive this Harinam, which has been inaugurated by Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, can also purify others by his association. So a couple of things there. One, again, because the Lord himself, Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna, appearing as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the identity of a devotee, the greatest devotee, taught this Harinam, right? And the Harinam is so powerful that if one has received it with faith and is chanting sincerely, then you can also purify others. And of course, according to the degree of one's advancement, one can have that effect on others. A Kanishta can give what they have. Kanishtas, they have some faith. They may have some knowledge, right? Faith in the deity, although it may not be very mature. Faith in the process of Harinam. Faith in the conception of Guru Parampara, so many things. Teachings of Bhagavad Gita. But when you come to Madhyam, then that faith is not only becoming fixed and Nishta, but it's becoming realized when one evolves into chanting Shuddhanam and Ruchi. And that person can give so much more because they can utter Shuddhanam. And that penetrates deeply, not just on the mental level and the intellectual level, but that penetrates to the spiritual level of the heart. And that can affect much more change. And when one evolves even further in Madhyam and comes to Asakti, where one is actually awakening deep attachment for Krishna in and also for his devotees and specific devotees in a particular rasa, they can give much more. And when they make that transition into Bhav Bhakti and those feelings become manifest clearly internally and confirmed by Sri Guru and given guidance of how to proceed in that form of meditation, that devotee, that Mahabhagavat, can give so much, can purify so many others, right? So the great poet Srila Kavi Kanapur states in his epic poem Sri Chaitanya Charita, Tata Sri Gauranga Samavadad Ativa Pumi. Is this Sanskrit or is this? Oh, anyway. Tata Sri Gauranga Samavadad Ativa Pramutito. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. At the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas ceremony, the barber who had been asked to shave him felt morose and was perturbed. Although he held the razor in his hand, he could not bring himself to shave off Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's beautiful hair. Instead, he simply wept. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was fully immersed in Radha Bhav, became deeply pleased and said, "O barber, you must constantly and loudly chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare." Upon hearing these instructions from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the barber began to chant, and although he continued to weep in distress, he proceeded to shave off Mahaprabhu's hair. He became so absorbed in chanting the Mahamantra that he manifested horripilation, romancha, right? And his bodily hairs stood erect, pulaka. That was an amazing pastime. Only a few people, Mahaprabhu's associates, knew about this. Nityananda Prabhu was there. I think Chandrasekhar was there. I can't remember who else, but only a handful of devotees were there. But all the residents that were witnessing that sannyas ceremony, they became extremely distressed, along with the barber. There was one individual, the father of Srinivasacharya. He was a great devotee of Mahaprabhu, and he happened to be there. And he was so afflicted that he became stunned and maddened. And for a period of a month or more, he was just wandering around that area. He did not go home. He stopped eating and drinking, and all he could do was repeat, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, in deep, loving trance, meditating on Mahaprabhu. Sri Krishna Chaitanya is Brahmachari name, also his sannyas name, which he kept to honor his guru, his, Ishwar Puri. And so the barber began to chant, but then he was able to continue with the service because Mahaprabhu invested him not only with the potency of the holy name, but with that complete purification. Then you become aligned with the Lord's desires totally. And the Lord wanted to have his head shaved. And it distressed everyone to see how beautiful Nimai was. His hair was so beautiful. Oh, to see him sannyas like that. And also thinking, oh, now he's going to give up his loving mother and his wife and leave all the loving inhabitants of Navadvip. So many thoughts were coming up. And it was just causing so much spiritual, emotional distress. And now that he's going to leave us all. We don't live there, but we were close. And now he's going to be gone forever. So they're all distressed. They were feeling this intense separation by this ceremony. So then there's a quote from the Chaitanya Mangala, Bahu Padasya Prabhu Brahmane Tulila Tara Gare Bhakti Bare Gana Arambila Brahmanera Gare Jaina Hoila Vrindavan Hari-nama Shunibare Aishe Savajan Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's a Bengali tune, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah, beautiful. Once Mahaprabhu visited the home of a Brahmana and embraced him. The kirtan that followed made that home become just like Vrindavan. And a multitude of people gathered to hear and chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Why did it feel just like Vrindavan? Because Mahaprabhu, his mood is that of Srimati Radharani. He identifies himself actually in that way. What does Radhika say? Oh, when she tells Krishna in Kurukshetra, you want us to meditate on you in our heart? But what is my heart? My heart is Vrindavan. So when you should come and be with us in Vrindavan. So Mahaprabhu, whenever he's chanting, his mind and heart are in Vrindavan. And that name, therefore, becomes Krishna in Vrindavan. Remember that the holy name, Shabda Brahm, it's non-different from Vrindavan, non-different from Radha, non-different from Krishna, non-different from their pastimes. And so the mood in which they chant, the environment of Vrindavan is there, it's created. Right? That's why we generally like to associate with people that are pursuing the same objective, the same prayojana in spiritual life, because it creates a favorable emotional environment also. Right? It's not that we disregard or criticize people with other objectives or goals. If they want to go to Vaikuntha or want to go to Ayodhya or want to go to Dwarka, that's fine. But we want to be in the midst of those who are aspiring to go to Vrindavan, and especially those who are aspiring for the mood of, or the service of Srimati Radhika as Palyadasis. This is our Rupanuga, Guru Varga. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also states, Hare Krishna Nama Prabhu Bole Nirantar. This is from Adi Lila. Prasanasi Mukke Hare Krishna Krishna Bole Vijaya Hoile Gorachanda Kutuhale Hare Krishna Bole Prema Sukhe Pratyaksha Hoile Yasi Advaita Samukhe. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always chanting Sri Nam. One day when he went to the home of Advaita Acharya, his face filled with pleasure as he chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We're getting an indication here that the Lord himself takes so much pleasure in this chanting. His devotees, we hear descriptions they can chant for 8 hours straight, days even. Nityananda would travel and chant and attract a crowd, and sometimes they would chant for days without stopping, without drinking, without eating, without sleeping, because they're completely submerged in that spiritual ocean of the ras of this Harinam. And what Mahaprabhu was giving most specifically is Braj Prem in that name, right? And so all the limitations of a material body, all the meager pleasures of the material body and the pains just fall away when one is immersed in the reality of Shuddhanam. This is what we want to embed in our heart, this understanding, this conception, this faith. Right? Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita states, Hari-nama Mahamantra ehita svabhav jehi jape tare Krishna upajahe bhav. The nature of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is such that when a person chants it, he immediately develops his loving, ecstatic relationship with Krishna. And the next verse in sequence, this is from the 7th chapter of Adi Lila. Krishna Vishayaka Prema Parama Purusarta Yare Age Turnatulya Chari Purusarta Parama Purusarta, right? When the 4 goals of human life, which are dharma, which is where you perfectly perform your duties in varnashram according to your status, artha, accumulating wealth, right? Kam, satisfying one's sensual desires, and moksha, attaining liberation, stand before Krishna Prem, the 5th and topmost goal. They appear as insignificant as straw in the street. So everything that we aspire for on the side, all of our separate interests, they're nothing compared to the beauty and the ecstasy, the charm, and ultimately the destination that Sri Nam will take us to. And that state of consciousness, that state of being in a mood of selfless love, the highest condition of the soul, the nature of the soul originally. We were created to love. But that loving propensity right now is misdirected and restricted. But this Harinam is meant to unleash it and bring us to that realm that Mahaprabhu and his associates are living. That's why hearing these are so important. Again, another verse in that same sequence, Panchama Purusarta Prema Nandamrita Sindhu Brahmari Ananda Jara Nahe Eka Bindu. The pleasures derived from Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha appear like a drop in the ocean in the presence of a person who has developed bhav. Right? The ocean is so vast. What's a drop? Right? What's a drop? Right? Again, next one, Krishna Namera Pal Prema Sarva Shastre Koi. The conclusion of all Shastra is that the fruit of Krishna Nam is Prem. And from the 17th chapter of Adi Lila, Kale Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar Nama Hoite Hoya Sarva Jagat Nishtara. The holy name of Sri Bhagavan, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is his avatar in this age of Kali. Just by chanting the name, one associates with Sri Krishna directly. Anyone who does this is certainly delivered. Very important. Holy name is not just syllables. This is a question that arises in Jaiva Dharma. How can a mantra composed of material syllables be all that you say? Right? And the answer is that it is not composed of material syllables. Golokera Premadana Hari-nama Sankirtan. It's descended from the spiritual world. It is Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Right? Purna Shuddho Nityamukto Binadvan Nami Namino. It's not different from the Lord himself. It's composed of Satchidananda Ras, right? It's complete, pure. But what we're hearing and what we're chanting until we come to Shuddhanam with purified senses is indeed a material thing, right? We're replicating it. However, that replication, it's also empowered, and even the shadow of the holy name has so much potency and power that it can purify all of our nartas, right? And then, sarva upadi vinir muktam tat padadvena nirmalam. Rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchate, this bhakti process of serving the master of the senses, and the chief of all the senses is the mind, right? And by controlling the mind, focusing the mind by this chanting, purifying it, then all these external designations, sarva, upadi, they all go away, right? And the ability to chant, which was previously restricted, atak Sri Krishna namadi na bhavad grayam indriyai, sevan mukhehi jivadal swayameva spranachado, that the material senses become purified and qualified by that seva. So our seva is the chanting of the holy name and the additional seva to our guru. Why don't we just continue to chant? Because our mind will cheat us, right? Because you can chant and sit, but what are your motives? You still retain your own motive, I'm going to be chanting and people respect me, I'm such a great devotee, everyone else is less than me. All these impurities can inhabit the mind while chanting, but when you acknowledge Sri Guru, surrender to Guru, and engage in Guru Seva, in any of the limbs of bhakti, then you are forcing your mind and all your senses to acknowledge your identity as a servant, right? Because now you're giving up your propensity for subtle and gross sense gratification and doing everything under the order and direction of Sri Guru. And also the benefit, the Guru sees that submissive attitude and becomes pleased. It's ultimately Guru that purifies us and helps us and removes these anarthas so that we become capable to chant like this, right? So the holy name is Krishna avatar, right? And you associate with Krishna directly when we chant Shuddhanam, and we're aspiring to associate when we're chanting Namabhas. Namabhas is also very powerful. And then he goes on to explain, Avatari Chaitanya Koila Dharma Pracharan Kali Kali Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtan. This is from the 11th chapter of Madhya Lila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has descended in Kali Yuga to propagate the Dharma of the age, chanting the holy names of Krishna. Sankirtana Jagye Tanre Kore Aradana Sehitasu Meta Ada Koli Hatha Jana. A person who worships Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by performing Sankirtan should be considered to possess great intelligence, right? Sumedha, right? It is understood that one who does not perform Sankirtan has no intelligence and is a victim of Kali. So that also points to us. We may be living in ashram, associating with devotees, but if we're not chanting Harinam, we're not getting the real benefit. We're accumulating bhakti sukriti, and we're getting favorable association, and our faith may grow from that. And we may hear others chanting, we may be in artik, but to take full advantage, to get the blessings of Mahaprabhu, we should joyfully chant the holy names, Hare Krishna mantra, knowing what we're doing. Not just, okay, now it's time to do my rounds. No, I'm not going to tell. There's a joke one godbrother told me, that one person who'd been practicing his so-called bhakti for his whole life, but he would be chanting inattentively and not with any kind of knowledge or purpose, just kind of mechanically, rik shik sha sha, shik shik sha sha, and then at the time of death, these two Yamadutas come. And he says, well, who are you? We're the Yamadutas. We're going to take you to Yamaraj. What? Why me? Who are you? Well, his name's Rich and my name's Shah. You kept calling us, and here we are. Now, that's obviously not a Shastric story, but the point being that, what are you meditating on? What are you doing? You want to learn to chant the name with love. And although it says in Scripture that proper pronunciation is not required, that means that we don't have the, the elocution of perfect Sanskrit scholars in chanting mantras and shlokas and all like that. But if we're chanting following the injunction, the instruction of our gurus, and we're chanting with attention and trying to cultivate appropriate feeling, then that's all overlooked. Like a mother doesn't care if the baby says, ma, 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 papa, they say it in a crude way. They may not pronounce the names right, but they say it with relationship and affection and love. And so that's what they take, the parents. Oh, he said my name. Oh, she said my name. Oh, So that's how Krishna hears us, right? And Guru. Sometimes we do service in such a fumbling, bumbling way. But Guru is so kindly, like a father, and just accepts everything. Right? Actually, Guru is father, mother, teacher, everything. There's one story told by Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, who we discussed the other day, and it was one of his godbrothers, who's now sannyasi, very senior devotee, and he was with, where were they? I think it was Hyderabad. And Srila Prabhupada was there, and they were visiting him. And one of my godbrothers, Srila Prabhupada's disciples, was in India. He was with him, and he was outside, and he had some tilak, and he wanted to put on tilak. And he had no water. So he spit into his hand and made tilak like that. And of course, this devotee raised really Paka Gaudiya Vaishnava was aghast. What are you doing? And he began to chastise, my godbrother. And that's not inappropriate to chastise him in that way. But then Srila Prabhupada came to him later and said, oh, Prabhu, what you said's correct, but these people are so new. They come from such a barbaric culture. They never knew anything, even about tilak. The fact is, he desires to put on tilak, and he did it the only way he could think of at that time. After some time, they will learn all the rules and regulations. They will come up. So he understood that it's going to be a struggle. If you look at the simple way that deity worship was done, how offerings were done, the prayers that were done, how we bathe the deities, all of that was done much more simply. You could say rudimentary, and even not according to the really exact guidelines. But Srila Prabhupada invoked the mood of the service. And so even when we were doing our service in a very simple way, there was that attention and strong sense of emotional connection, right? And that Srila Prabhupada was there and that he was guiding us. And that's very, very powerful. Very powerful. That's the real essence of bhakti. There's the activity, the cheshta, and then there's the mood, right? So, respectful mood. So Srila Prabhupada stressed in deity worship cleanliness and punctuality, right? And by that, by being punctual, that's respectful, right? Like if you're to go to a meeting, right? Or you go to, something, and you don't show up on time for the interview, then, what does that say to the person who's offering the interview or offering the job? Oh, you don't respect it, you don't take it seriously. Or, you're living with people, or you're living in somebody's house and you keep it a mess, right? You're not clean. What does it say about how you appreciate others, right? So when you're worshiping the deity, if everything is messy and disorderly and not kept clean, it doesn't show a very high degree of respect. But if you can do those two things alone, that's discipline. That's a mood, that is there and cultivated. It creates a sense of respect and appreciation, and that empowers the cheshta. The bhav, or the mood, empowers the activity, right? The two are two parts of the service of bhakti. So, you can always increase and learn more and more rules, right? But the attention and the mood of respect and love, that's harder to come by. There are many people who do deity worship. This is one of the chapters of Jaiva Dharma. What chapter would it be? Is it chapter 5, where Devi is talking with Lahiri Mahashaya, and Lahiri Mahashaya is talking about the difference in the deity worship in the houses, in his house, his son's house, and the houses of the Orthodox Brahmanas in Shantipur, as opposed to that of Vaishnavas. He said that you don't have real faith in the deity as an eternal personality, as Bhagavan, and you're doing it only for a material benefit, right? Whereas the deity the service to the deity done out of realization as his identity as Bhagavan, and our relationship as his loving servants, that is a very different quality. That's the difference between bhakti and karma kanda, right? And you get a different result, very different result. So, Nirantara Krishna Nama Sankirtan, Helaya Mukti Pabe Premadana. This is 25th chapter of Madhya. That's Mahaprabhu speaking to Sanatana Goswami. Always chant Krishna Nam, and you will very easily achieve mukti. Finally, you will receive the treasure of Krishna Prem. Ekanama Basse Tomar Papadosha Jaibe, Aranama Laite Krishna Charana Paibe. Same chapter. Begin to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And at the stage of Namabhas, when your chanting is almost pure, all your sinful reactions will be removed. When you perfectly chant Hare Krishna, you will attain the shelter of Sri Krishna's lotus feet. Oh, imagine that time when you all of a sudden that you chant the holy name purely. That must be an amazing experience, that flash of connection by chanting that name with love, selflessness. Anchalila, Namadara Pale Krishna Pare Prema Upajai. The result of chanting Nam without offense is that a person will awaken his ecstatic love for the lotus feet of Krishna. More Anchalila. Kali Kalera Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtan. In Kali Yuga, the Dharma is to chant Krishna Nam Sankirtan. Harshi Prabhu Kohena Shuna Sarup Ramarai Nam Sankirtana Kalo Parama Upai. In great jubilation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear Sarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy, understand that the easiest way to attain liberation in this age of Kali is by chanting Hari-nam. You have any problems at all, any doubt, any struggle, just take shelter of the holy name. Sankirtana Jagge Kalo Krishna Aradhana Sehita Sumeda Paya Krishnara Charana." In this age of Kali, the system for worshipping Krishna is to perform yajna by chanting Sri Bhagavan's name. Someone who does so is considered to be intelligent, and he will definitely attain the lotus feet of Krishna. Nama Sankirtana Hoya Sarvanartanasha Sarva Shubhodaya Krishna Premada Ulas. By chanting Krishna Nam, one can eradicate all anarthas. In this way, all good fortune is awakened, and the bliss of Krishna Prem begins. All the anarthas. What are anarthas? All the obstacles, all the problems, everything we have. Just chant. Kaite Shrite Jata Tattanamalai Kala Desha Niyam Nahi Sarva Siddhi Hoy. One who chants the name while eating or sleeping, regardless of time or place, attains all perfection. You ever chant while you're dreaming? Works. It helps. It helps. E Mattahanaye Krishna Namalaya Se Krishna Charane Tandra Prema Upajay. A person will definitely awaken prema for the lotus feet of Sri Krishna if he chants Krishna Nam like this. Like what is this saying, So, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami states in the introduction to his commentary on the Mahamantra, it's very long Sanskrit, I'm going to read the translation. Oh, that was the introduction that we read. Let's hear it once more. Once, Srimati Radhika was feeling overwhelming distress due to separation from her beloved Shama Sundar, and she meditated upon meeting him. To remove her fire of separation, she began to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is absorbed in the mood of Srimati Radhika, also chanted these names. Thus, Krishna's 16 names, consisting of 32 syllables, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, came from the lotus mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. May this Mahamantra, which makes the entire universe become absorbed in Krishna Prem, be graciously and conspicuously present above all else. Jai Ho, Jai Ho! Let there be complete victory for the Mahamantra. So this Mahamantra has come from the lotus mouth of Srimati Radhika and also from Mahaprabhu, who is Radhika and Krishna combined. It's completely spiritual. It's the ultimate mantra of union, separation, and complete love. All the facets of Prem are contained in this mantra. And when we read the commentaries, we're going to find all that out. I think this is the last part of this. Yes, here we go. The last thing he says, references to the Mahamantra is also found in the Brahmanda Purana, Uttarakhanda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Brahmanda Purana is one of the 6 most important Puranas. The 3 names, Hare Krishna and Ram, which are in the vocative case, comprise the Mahamantra. Vocative means it's a calling out. Oh, Radhika, oh, Krishna, oh, Radhika, oh, Radharaman, right? We're going to hear these amazing descriptions. And then he gives some quotes from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adikanda, Madhyakanda, and so this next section that we'll read tomorrow begins with the commentaries on the Mahamantra. And there's a quote by Sri Gopal Guru to start it all off. We'll read it now and then we'll read it tomorrow. When Mahabhagavats see that their disciples are qualified, meaning that they are grateful, silent. Silent means not talking mundane stuff, right? Victorious over their senses, that means only engaging your mind and senses in seva. Pure-hearted, and above all, that their hearts are full of attachment, anurag, to Sri Sri Radharaman, they bless them by mercifully giving them the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is composed of 3 words, which means the full quality and nature of that Harinam is revealed in their hearts. They may have received it in initiation a long time before, but the complete giving takes place over time. That initiation for most of us is anukstani, conventional, and it begins a process of sadhana and purification. But vidvat ruti is when the full import of the holy name is understood and tasted in the heart on receiving it. So at some point, our initiation becomes mature, and then that name rises in our heart, shines in our heart. So tomorrow we begin the commentaries on the Mahamantra. Okay, so we'll stop here. So much nectar. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev, all glories to the assembled devotees, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol.